wasn't sure if it was a coincidence or a major red flag, but lately Ollie has been noticing Mikey and Pinky's behaviors. It was strange and confusing. It all started this morning when he saw Mikey leave Pinky on the counter as he cooked breakfast. As he did, he noticed the doll's eyes. They looked almost as if they were staring at him with some kind of intention that he couldn't pinpoint. When Mikey was finished cooking and left the kitchen to go fetch his nunchucks he left in his room and possibly wake up the others, Ollie's gaze turned away to grab a cup of tea when he turned and almost jumped. Pinkie Pie wasn't sitting on the counter. He could have sworn his little brother wasn't carrying Pinky with him, as he left her right there on the counter. When he looked again, he was almost in disbelief. Pinky was at the table in a weird-looking position. Her two front forelegs were lifted up and seemingly grasping the table to hold on while standing on her two back legs. Tied around her neck was a white napkin as to show as a little bib. Ollie was bewildered at the sight, as Pinkie Pie was made of stuffing and fabric, no joints inside to be seen. "How did you end up at the table?" he asked, expecting no answer. "I know you were just sitting on the counter just a minute ago." He walked over to the table to get a closer inspection, but before he could reach for her, Mikey entered the kitchen while being followed by the others. When he noticed Pinky sitting at the table in a strange position, he grew suspicious and turned to Ollie, who in return gave Mikey a confused one. "Did you move Pinky when I left the kitchen, Ollie?" he asked, a bit annoyed. "No, Mikey, I swear I did not move her," he replied warily. A glare left the orange-masked turtle before he was smacked in the head by Raph. "Just shut up and let's eat," he grumbled. Mikey glared at his older brother before sighing and joined in the others for breakfast. Ollie was going to say something, but stopped and sat down. While eating, the green-masked turtle would look at his little brother every 20 seconds. Mikey made an extra plate of scrambled eggs and toast for Pinky, and would try to feed the pink pony plush. It's just a stupid doll, Mikey. It can't eat," Raph growled. Mikey glared at him in return. "My sweet cupcake said she can eat." Mikey nearly blushed when he called that about her. The other turtles looked at Mikey, almost as surprised as he was. "Did you just call her your sweet cupcake?" Donnie asked. Mikey nodded and gulped a bit. His blush was a tad bit pink, mixed with red, as his baby blue eyes switched over to her. He almost got hit with confusion, as he could have sworn he saw the doll's cheeks turning light red. But it could have been his imagination. Raph laughed a bit and pointed to the doll. "That doll must be scrambling your brain more than it already is," he laughed, which caused Kofu to glare and smack him upside the head. The red-masked turtle growled and glared at his little sister with anger before Kofu went back to eating. Mikey sighed a bit and continued to eat his own breakfast, while also feeding Pinkie Pie. After breakfast, Mikey left to go train for a bit after he put Pinkie Pie in his bedroom, so Leo can calm down a bit. Ollie watched his little brother spar for most of the day. He was hoping this new behavior of Mikey's wasn't permanent. He missed the old Mikey who goofed around them while laughing and joking around. The old Mikey who would play video games with his brothers and sister while doing his victory dances. The old Mikey that would do his best to keep his team together and help them look on the bright side of things when they go down. He missed that Mikey, and that argument that Raph gave him was enough to shut him off. Splinter wasn't told about it, but eventually he was going to have to know. While sparring, he watched in amazement of how Mikey had beat down Kofu and won. Up next was him versus Donnie, but as they sparred, he couldn't take his mind off of Mikey and Pinky. Before he knew it, he was already on the floor with Donnie's foot against his plastron and his bow staff inches from his face. I win, Ollie, Donnie said with a proud smile. The purple-masked turtle got off of his brother before helping him up and walking back to the others. Once training was over, he was talking to Leo about Mikey's behavior and attachment to Pinkie Pie. I'm telling you, Leo, Mikey's behavior is not normal, Ollie said with a serious tone. Leo sighed a bit before looking at his brother. I know, Ollie, but I talked to his sensei the other day, and he said give Mikey more time, as Pinkie Pie seems to be something that Mikey can use as comfort, since he's already distancing himself from us, Leo explained, fully aware of this situation. Over by the TV, Mikey could hear everything his brothers were saying, and in silence was starting to feel very quiet. He hugged Pinkie close to him and nuzzled her gently on the head. Don't listen to them, Pinks. They're just jealous because I have you and they don't have anyone, he said quietly. He cradled Pinkie in his arms when he started to feel something ache in his chest. He winced a little and placed his hand over his plastron to locate the aching. When he found it, he was surprised, and his cheeks started to heat up. His heart was beating against his chest like a drum beating along with the music. He was unaware Pinkie's 2 blue eyes were looking straight at him. Her pink face was still the same, but her cheeks were slightly red for some reason.
You're right, Mike. They're just jealous because I'm here with you and they don't have anyone.
The voice spoke gently in the turtle's mind, so he didn't jump again. The orange-masked turtle smiled and nodded to her as he cuddled up with her. Later that night, Ollie was struggling in his sleep. Inside his dream, he was in a pitch-black room where he saw a little hot pink rose on the ground. It was beautiful and sparkling like the sun during the day, but on the stem, if he squinted his eyes, he could see something forming on the bottom. The green stem was slightly darker than the brighter green, and a faint dark circle was slowly appearing on one side. What the? He couldn't find any other words to even speak when his dark brown eyes moved over what's behind the rose. Pinkie Pie was sitting on the ground in her sitting position, but her head was looking down at Ollie's gaze. The green-masked turtle slowly felt his heart beginning to beat, and it was only a slight jump. He stared at the stuffed pony in silence, while listening to his own heart before he closed his eyes to take a moment to process all of this in. The sound nearly made Ollie jump. The sound of that crack almost sounded like a tree creaking against the force of the wind, or a bone making the sickening sound when it's being broken. When his eyes snapped open, he felt a slight screaming, crawling in his throat, as when he saw the sight. It wasn't how the sound that made him unsettled, nor was it the sight of the doll's head thrown back. It was the eyes that stared right at him. Pinkie's blue, cerulean eyes were gazing at him with something that he couldn't describe. Happiness? No. Excitement? Possibly. Yes, excitement. There was excitement in the pony's eyes, but he almost let his scream out when he saw that wide, pitch-black, open smile on the face. Pinkie Pie's body was turned away, and her head was thrown back to see Ollie upside down in her sight, like a bat hanging upside down. The green-masked turtle couldn't even scream, as a voice had penetrated his thoughts. A high-pitched, girly-like voice was enough to almost scare the shell out of Ollie.
I am more than just a fleshy, as you are too blind to even see a thing, or even understand anything!